Hi guys, we have been talking about the legal issues, American, the U.S. legal system for a while. I think it's enough for now. And let's switch into estate planning. Let's switch into financial issues. And then one thing that I really basically inspired me to do this video and a bunch of other video to be followed is that there are a lot of confusions and opinions that are just the two extremes to one hand, where there should be a more balanced views, and then should be more people stand acting as the fiduciary for financial consumers. I just don't feel there have been enough of people doing that. Let me give you an example. There was one video I was watching that it's made by a guy by the name David McKnight. He was basically debating with Susie Orman. I think everybody knows that name, right? Um, about annuity. Susie Orman, Susie and David, they both basically says that have especially Susie. Susie basically says that try to avoid annuity all by all means, because annuity. She mentioned a few big issues. Number one is return is very low. We basically says that the annuity may be like up to 5%, and the S&P 500 sometimes can go two-digit, right? But I think David actually made a good point, which is also the regulators' point. Basically, the FINRA, the SEC, they all say that annuity is basically comparable to fixed income. More accurately, annuity should be considered as the bond alternative. Okay. What is the fixed income security? That's the easiest way is to think about one word, two words, lending money. If you are buying the fixed income security, mostly bond, either issued by government or the corporation or other entities, you are lending your money out to those people. On the other hand, if you are buying a stock, then you are investing your money into that entities. So those are the easy way to say it. But basically, Susie, I think, made a misleading argument saying that, in order to support her view that, try to avoid annuity by all means. So she made an exaggeration, say that, annuity is really nothing. The return is ridiculous. Look at the S&P. S&P. You'll be much better off with S&P with in the equity market instead of buying the annuity. But again, you can't really compare apples and oranges, right? So the annuity is oranges, and the equity, the stock market, it's apples. So it's just not a responsible way to say that. Okay. And so that's one thing. And then the other thing, big argument, she made a few arguments. I'm going to show you some a table. I summarized the table, and then I'm going to present that. So the second biggest argument is that the taxation. So Susie was saying that for the annuity, if you are, at the point of distribution, you will be charged income tax. Okay. On the other hand, she mentioned that the mutual fund, in her view, the mutual fund is better off because mutual fund is charged by capital gain. Okay. So again, this is also misleading, because if you think about this, mutual fund is taxed each year, whether you realize the gain or not unrealized the gain, they tax that each year. Of course, it is taxed as a capital gain, but you know, if you charge that if you tax it, each year. By the way, the income tax rate is generally higher than capital gain. Capital gain, if I remember correctly, the top is like 20%. And then for some rich people, high net worth people, they up to 23%. But so it's lower income tax. We know up to like 37% bracket, a different bracket, right? So if you look at the top bracket of income tax versus the highest rate of capital gains, income tax is it's higher. Tax rate is higher. But once again, Susie's point is that if you buy in annual annuity, then by the time you take it out, the money is distributed to you. We know annuity has two phases. Number one is accumulation phase. You try to, it's kind of like putting water into a bathtub. Okay, you put water in, and then by the time you eventually your goal is not to leave the water in the bathtub. You have to use that as a shower, right? Or to take a bath. Okay, so by the time you're taking the bath, the anchor sum will go after you, they charge your income tax rate. Okay, and then so that's also misleading. Although income tax rate is higher than capital gain tax rate. The big difference is that mutual fund is charged every year. You have to pay taxes. Whether you take the money out or not, it doesn't makes no difference. However, your annuity, it's taxed. Your growth of the money is tax deferred. You don't pay tax each year. But it basically means when you are adding water into the bathtub, the entire process, they won't charge you any money until when you are ready to take a shower, take a bath, and then anchor sum will come after you. But again, it's not the same thing. They're not charging you taxes each year. Okay, so that's a big difference. So in that two items, there's some other things we talk about. We can look at the table yourself. But here I'm just saying that we really need more people, especially in the so-called export, right? Financial export. They really need to make themselves put a head of a fiduciary on their head. You don't just argue, of your own personal opinions. No matter how strong the opinion is, you have to put yourself in the consumer's shoes, and then you understand why there is, annuity is. It's a kind of a popular. In fact, let me tell you some statistics. From 2024 to 2025, there's over these years, basically the number says that we have the sales of annuity, regardless whether it's qualified or non-qualified. Okay, they actually grow by $400 billion. Okay, there's a big sales going on. In my opinion, in my view, I think it's much to do with the concerns with the Social Security. If you think about it, Social Security, it's probably best way to compare Social Security with the annuity. They're both for retirement. If you try to take money out, in other words, if you take in the bath before you are age 59 and a half, then the anchor sum will after you, they charge you 10% of a penalty because they want you to leave the water in the bathtub and until you're ready to take a shower, which is basically after age 60. Okay, so otherwise they charge you. So this kind of thing, it makes it interesting that we have to compare the Social Security, which is a public pension plan, the difference between defined contribution versus a defined benefit. Okay, Social Security is a defined benefit, which basically means that you can pretty much know that based on how many years you work, and then what's the highest paid year, based on that. So they can tell you that ahead of time, how much money you each month you'll get. Okay, same thing. We will be a monthly payment with annuity. That's why the people like it. Because people are worried about the two things. Number one, they outlive their income. They're still alive, but the money's gone. So that's one concern. Number two, they want a regular payment, just like they are getting a paycheck when they're still employed. So those are two things make the annuity popular. Okay, what is qualified or non-qualified? So you can see that we're gonna come to this later because this is too complicated. But we just get it started. My key point is that don't listen to all the expert. If they are very strong opinion, if they just tell you one side of the story, be careful with them. Okay.